Hello everyone. So President Donald Trump, he has announced that from 2nd of April onwards, USA will be imposing reciprocal tariff, including India. So on all trading partners of USA will be imposing reciprocal tariff. So in this particular video, what we are going to discuss is first, what is reciprocal tariff, what is going to be the impact of reciprocal tariff on India, what can India do in order to avoid the negative implications of this particular move of US president. So let's begin with why this particular topic is in news. Because day before yesterday, while addressing the joint Congress session, so in USA they call their parliament as Congress. Like India, it also has two houses. The lower house is called as House of Representative, the upper house it is called as Senate, right? So while addressing the joint session of Congress, US President Donald Trump talked about reciprocal tariff which will be imposed from April 2nd. Now why this news is very significant? Reason being, USA is world's biggest economy. It is world's one of the biggest trading country. So if you know that roughly $7 trillion worth of trade every year US does with other countries. But you should also be knowing that out of this $7 trillion trade, USA also has a huge trade deficit of roughly $1 trillion every year. It is a very huge amount. What does it mean? That if USA imports 4 trillion worth of goods, it exports only nearly 3 trillion worth of goods, and hence there is a deficit of $1 trillion. So let's discuss first what does reciprocal tariff means. To understand this, let's take one example. Let's say USA and India are trading to each other, right? Now let's say USA export something to India. To take an example, let's say a farm commodity. Now while USA exports something to India, India will be imposing import duty. Now let's say the import duty which India imposes on that particular farm commodity is 40%. And if the same commodity is exported by India to USA, let's say USA impose a tariff of 10%. What does it mean? That the tariff imposed by both the countries is not equal. If reciprocal tariff comes into force, what it will be doing is it will replace, USA will impose same 40% tariff on that good which India imposes on US good. So 10% will be replaced by 40%. This is what reciprocal tariff means. Whatever tariff you impose on our country, USA will also be imposing the same amount of tariff on your country. So I hope the word reciprocal tariff is clear to you. Now let's discuss why USA is trying to impose reciprocal tariff. Why Donald Trump is mentioning or talking about imposing reciprocal tariff. So the first thing is, as we have discussed already, USA, it has huge trade deficit, roughly of $1 trillion every year. It is it is a very huge amount. Now USA, it wants to reduce its trade deficit. USA thinks, or USA feels that the trade deficit of USA, it is so huge. Reason being, other countries, they don't treat USA fairly when it comes to tariff. So that is the first reason why USA wants to impose reciprocal tariff. Another reason is USA thinks that because the cheaper goods from other countries are very easily available in the US market or US economy, the manufacturing sector of USA, it is getting hurt, right? So in order to give push to manufacturing, in order to bring manufacturing back to USA wants to impose reciprocal tariff. Meaning, if reciprocal tariff will be imposed, the goods from other countries will become more costlier in USA, right? And hence USA can manufacture those goods within their economy. It will also be bringing more employment in USA. As more manufacturing will be done within the country, more employment generation will be there within the USA. So these are few reasons. So to understand this point even more better, you see the share of manufacturing sector in USA's GDP is roughly 10%. Roughly 10%. If you have idea, India's share or India's manufacturing share in GDP is roughly 17 to 18%, which we find to be very low. If you know that one of the objective of Make in India initiative is to increase the share of manufacturing sector in GDP from 17-18% to 25%. So we find 17-18% also as less. Think about USA, their manufacturing share in GDP is only nearly 10%. So Trump wants to increase the share of manufacturing in GDP there. So these are the reasons why President is talking about imposing reciprocal tariff. Now the next thing is, what is India doing to protect itself? So when we know this already, because the President, when he was not even elected, even during his presidential campaign or after getting elected, but before taking oath itself, he was mentioning or he was talking about reciprocal tariff. So when we know this thing for many months, what India is doing till now. So few things which India has already done, let's discuss those things first. So India, if you know, in its budget speech, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman, what she has done is she has proactively lowered tariff on some of the US imports. So even without US asking, we have lowered some of the import duty on some of the US imports. For example, automobiles. For example, bourbon whiskey of USA. So you might have heard President Trump saying again and again that bikes, especially Harley Davidson bike, right? On this bike, because it is a very high cc engine, on this bike India used to impose import duty of roughly 150%. So Trump used to mention it many a times. So India, it has proactively reduced the import duty on this bike. Similarly, bourbon whiskey, one of the whiskey which is produced in USA only, on this whiskey also they have significantly reduced the tariff. What else India has done is, recently Prime Minister also visited to USA. When Prime Minister Modi, he met President Trump there, both the leaders, they have reached to one agreement, or they have reached to one conclusion that by the year 2030, the trade between two countries, India and USA, we will increase it to $500 billion. Right now, if you know, it is nearly $200 billion, meaning we have to more than double it, right? It is a very ambitious target. In order to realize this target, both the leaders they have agreed that one bilateral trade agreement will be signed between India and USA. It is expected to be signed before the end of this year, and when this agreement will be signed, both the countries can give concessions. For example, India can give concession to USA's goods while it is importing from USA. Similarly, USA can also give some kind of exemptions to India when it comes to reciprocal tariff. So in this bilateral trade agreement, which has been discussed or which has been agreed by both the leaders, that we will be signing such an agreement, we can come up with such a trade deal where the trade between two countries will not be affected much because of reciprocal tariff, right? So these two things India, it has done already. Now the next question comes, if reciprocal tariff will be imposed from 2nd of April, what will be the implications on India? So the first implication, it is very obvious that Indian goods will be more costlier in USA, right? So let's say right now a good of India, because the duty is only 10%, a good worth of $1 is available in USA's market as $1.1, right? Now if the duty increases from 10% to 25%, the same $1 good will be of $1.25 good, meaning from $1.1 it has become of $1.25. The Indian good will become more expensive in US market, which will lead to Indian good becoming less competitive in USA, and hence in USA the demand for Indian goods will come down. So this is going to be the first implication of this reciprocal tariff. Another thing is that there will be less FPI into India's equity market, into India's share market. How? You see, whenever if President Trump is going to impose reciprocal tariff, one implication of this will be that the goods in USA from other countries are going to be more expensive, meaning it will cause inflation. It will cause inflation into USA's economy. If inflation will be caused into USA's economy, the Central Bank of USA, that is Federal Bank, what it is going to do is it is going to increase the repo rate or policy rate. So policy rate will be increased by Central Bank in order to curb the implications of inflation. Once repo rate will be increased, you will be finding the investors of USA, they will be getting attractive returns in the safe market of USA, and hence they will be hesitating to invest in emerging economies like India because they are getting good returns within USA, right? And hence they will not be investing much, or investment to emerging economies will be reduced, including India. So we will be getting less FPI, we will be getting less FPI because in USA they will be getting better returns. And another implication of this will be on India, that India's forex or foreign exchange will be coming down. Reason being, very obviously, because India's export to USA will be reduced, because India's export to USA will become more costlier. Secondly, because investment from USA will also be reduced. Both these things will lead to India's foreign exchange coming down. Now when we know this, another important point to discuss is what are the implications of this move by President Trump on global trade architecture, right? So the framework of global trade which we have, how it is going to be impacted because of this move of President Trump. So you see, first thing to understand here is that USA, along with its two biggest neighbors, one is Canada, another is Mexico. These three countries, earlier they used to have one trade agreement which is used to be called as NAFTA, North American Free Trade Agreement. Because the terms of NAFTA, President Trump did not find it fair for USA. In his first term in 2019, President Trump, because of the insistence of USA, he replaced NAFTA with a new agreement called as USMCA. Full form is United States, Mexico, Canada Agreement. It was signed in 2019. Now, when USMCA was signed in 2019, after this, recently President Trump, he has announced to impose tariff or extra tariff even on Canada and Mexico, which is violative of USMCA. So you might have read in newspaper that 25% tariff will be imposed by USA on Canada and Mexico, which recently President Trump has delayed for one more month. But you see, he has announced for extra tariff on these two countries. Now these extra tariff, they are violative of USMCA. What message or what signal this move sends to other countries is that USA, it is not going to respect the trade deals which it has signed with other countries. So like we have discussed that India and USA, they are also into a discussion to sign a bilateral trade agreement. But what if tomorrow USA does not respect that agreement, right? So that is one big concern because of this move of president. Another thing is USA, it has started questioning WTO itself, World Trade Organization itself. USA, one of the document very recently released by US government, US 2025 Trade Policy Agenda, it says that WTO has lost its way. They are giving some reasons also. First thing which US says, that WTO's special and differential treatment provision. So there is a provision in WTO where the countries which are developing countries, the countries which are developing countries, they have been given some special concessions. Concessions like those countries, they can impose extra tariff, those countries, they can give certain kind of subsidies which other countries are not allowed to give to its citizens. So US says that these SDT provisions are not just. Reason being, USA says in order to get the benefit of SDT provisions, a country should be developing. But as per WTO, you can get these benefits just by declaring yourself as a developing country. Meaning, if a country says that we are a developing country, then that country will be getting or will be eligible to get the benefit of SDT. Now USA says that there should be an objective criteria whether a country is developing or not. Merely by declaring yourself as developing should not be the criteria. So that is one thing USA criticized WTO about. Another thing which USA says that WTO, it has also failed to address China's economic system. So US says that China, it is no more a market economy, meaning the decisions or the economic decisions in China are not taken by or not governed by the market forces of demand and supply, but China, as per USA, it is a state-led economy. And hence WTO should act against China, or they should have acted against China, because WTO has failed to do so. WTO, it is losing its way. WTO, basically President Trump, he is not having faith in WTO itself, and hence the global architecture of trade as per WTO rules, it itself is in threat. So now the last thing to discuss in this particular topic is, now when we know that these are the concerns India is going to face because of reciprocal tariff, what India should do now? What is the way forward for India? One thing is, India and USA should sign that BTA very early, or there should be an early conclusion to bilateral trade agreement where both the countries can give concession to each other and India can protect itself against the threat of reciprocal tariff. Another thing which India should do is, India now should start proactively looking for alternative markets. So now when we know because of such kind of tariff we are going to lose some market share in USA, we should compensate it by finding or looking for another alternative markets. So if you know, India and EU, they are already in this process. So right, few days back only, EU's commissioner with many other commissioners, EU's commissioners with many other regional commissioners, they were here in India, and India and EU, they are planning to sign one FTA, India EU Free Trade Agreement. Similarly, India is in discussion with signing FTA with UK, also Australia as well. So India should sign these FTAs early with other economies, other countries, so that we can bypass or we can find an alternative market to USA. The next thing which India can do is, India should lower import duties on US goods wherever possible. So US, it generally creates such an image of India that India is highly inward looking economy, India is highly protective economy, right? Because on certain goods, even from USA, we impose very high duty, like we have mentioned about Harley Davidson, where the import duties roughly used to be 150%. Right? So India should proactively reduce such duties which are excessive in nature, right? So that the perception about India, the image of India should not be like that India is a high tariff country. So these things India can do in order to protect itself in future against reciprocal tariff threat of USA. So I hope through this video you have understood what is reciprocal tariff, how India is going to be affected by reciprocal tariff, why President Trump is talking about imposing reciprocal tariff, and what should India do in future to protect itself. If you have liked this video, please subscribe our channel. Thank you so much.